Okay, so have you ever noticed this? Like, you get way more done when everyone else is asleep.
Ah,
It's
yeah.
almost like a superpower, you know? That feeling of quiet focus. You just can't seem to find it during the day.
Right.
Well, today, we're diving deep into nighttime productivity.
Ooh, fun.
We're going to figure out why it feels so good
Yeah.
and how to get a little bit of that magic, you know,
hmm
during daylight hours.
I think a lot of people think that nighttime productivity is just about working late,
Right.
but there's actually a lot more to it.
Yeah.
It's really about how our brains work.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So we've got two great sources for you today.
Okay.
One delves into the science behind, like, why the night can be so productive for some people.
Interesting.
And the other one is packed with tips
Okay.
for channeling that energy into our daytime routines.
Awesome.
But first, let's talk about those late night vibes. You know, that feeling. What is it about the night that just makes some of us come alive?
Well, for one thing, all the demands on our attention just start to disappear as the day goes on.
Yeah.
You don't have as many emails. There's less chatter. No one's like popping into your workspace.
Right.
And that can be like such a relief,
Well,
you know?
absolutely. It's like finally getting some breathing room. Like for me, I hit this wall every afternoon. It's brutal.
Oh, the afternoon slump.
The afternoon slump, yes. I feel completely drained.
I feel that.
But then something really weird happens around like 9 p.m.
What's that?
I get this like second wind.
You get that second wind, yeah.
Yes. All of a sudden, I'm like back in the game. Ideas are flowing.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually focus. Our first source actually calls this the second wind phenomenon. And I've always wondered what causes it. Like, where does that energy even come from?
Well, it might feel like magic, but I promise it's not. It's biology.
Okay.
Our bodies naturally go through cycles all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, their energy just surges in the evening,
Yeah.
you know? It's part of their natural rhythm. Remember circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
So not everyone's internal clock is set to like early bird. Like
Definitely not an early bird.
some of us are actually wired for late night focus.
Okay. So it's not just me being like, weird.
No.
There's like actual science behind my late night productivity. I love that.
There is. And it comes down to something called our chronotype,
Okay.
which basically determines if we're naturally early risers, night owls, or somewhere in between.
Uh-huh.
And night owls.
Yeah.
They're biologically primed for focus and creativity later in the day. It's not laziness. It's literally how their bodies are wired.
Okay, so I'm not procrastinating. I'm actually like working with my natural rhythm.
You got it.
I like that. I like that a lot. But it can't just be about avoiding distractions, can it? Like there's got to be more to this whole like nighttime magic thing.
Yeah, you're right. There is. And part of it is also about our biology.
Okay.
As the day goes on, our stress hormones naturally decline, which makes us feel calmer and more relaxed.
Yeah, that's true.
And for some people, that can actually enhance their cognitive function.
Really?
It's like our brains finally get a break from fight or flight mode.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I know for me, those quiet nighttime hours are like when I feel the most creative.
Right.
It's like my mind can finally just wander and make connections and come up with new ideas.
Exactly. And the source actually highlights this.
Mm-hmm.
Nighttime can be a time for creativity because there's no pressure
Right.
and less expectation
Yeah.
than we often face during the day.
Okay.
You combine that with reduced stress hormones and a quieter environment, and bam.
Magic.
It's like the perfect recipe for creative thinking.
Yeah.
Your brain can finally exhale. Let those creative juices flow.
It's like hitting the reset button on the whole day and then just diving into something that captures your imagination, you know? Whether it's working on a passion project, exploring a new idea, or finally tackling that, you know, creative challenge you've been putting off, the night offers a kind of possibility that's hard to find during the day.
I think you're also underestimating the power of just being in control.
What do you mean?
At night, you get to set up your space however you want.
Yeah.
Dimmer lights, your favorite music, no interruptions. It's like your own little productivity sanctuary.
Yeah, okay, I'm starting to see the appeal, but as much as I love those like late night productivity bursts, I also love sleep. So how do we take this nighttime magic and bring it into our daytime routines?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Luckily, our second source has some advice on exactly how to do that.
Ooh, okay. I am all ears because I could definitely use a little more of that nighttime focus in my life, and I think our listeners probably could too.
Yeah, I think so. So the key is to try to recreate the things that make nighttime so great for focus.
Okay.
It's about your environment, your schedule,
Mm-hmm.
even your mindset.
Okay. So it's like we're hacking our surroundings
Yeah,
to get into that nighttime productivity zone, even when it's, the middle of the day.
exactly. And the first thing you got to do is minimize distractions.
Right.
Think about what makes nighttime so peaceful. It's the lack of interruptions, right?
Yeah, true.
So how do we get that during the day?
Well, I guess turning off notifications is a pretty obvious first step.
Definitely.
I know I'm totally guilty of getting lost in the social media scroll or constantly checking email.
It's a trap.
It is.
And the source recommends going a step further, actually.
Okay.
Setting boundaries with your colleagues and family.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just let them know when you need some uninterrupted time and try to stick to it.
I mean, that's easier said than done, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like everyone expects you to be available 24/7 these days.
It's hard. But remember, protecting your focus is like protecting your productivity.
True.
Oh, and the source also mentions this technique I really like.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Pomodoro technique?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't really know what it is, though.
So it's named after those little kitchen timers.
The tomato ones.
Yeah, the tomato ones. And basically, you work in these focused intervals. Usually it's 25 minutes of work followed by a 5-minute break. And you repeat that 4 times, then take a longer break.
So you trick your brain into thinking it's just like a short sprint, not a whole marathon.
Exactly. It breaks things down into manageable chunks, makes it easier to resist those distractions because you know a break is coming soon. And those little breaks are important. They prevent burnout and help you stay focused.
That's really smart, actually. I can see how that would be helpful for someone like me who tends to get overwhelmed by huge chunks of work.
I think a lot of people feel that way. The source also talks about using sensory tricks, too.
Ooh. Okay, what kind?
Remember how we were saying that dimmer lights and quiet surroundings help at night?
Yeah.
We can actually try to recreate that during the day, too.
Wait, you dim the lights in your office during the day?
I do. It might seem weird, but it helps. Swapping out harsh overhead lights for softer, warmer lighting. It's like the light you'd see around sunset. It signals to your brain that it's time to wind down.
So I can trick my brain into thinking it's already evening, even if it's 2 in the afternoon.
Pretty much.
Okay, I love that. Are there any other sensory hacks you use?
Sound is another big one. If you're easily distracted, by noise, try ambient sounds like nature sounds or white noise. That can help block out the chatter and make you feel calmer.
That's a really good idea. Okay,
Yeah.
What else can we do to bring that nighttime productivity into the day?
Well, think about your nighttime routine. How do you get into work mode at night?
I guess I never really thought about it. But I usually make a cup of tea, dim the lights, put on some music, and then I look over my to-do list.
See? You've already got a nighttime ritual. And our second source recommends doing the same thing for daytime productivity.
So even when it's not nighttime, I should have a pre-work routine that signals to my brain, okay, time to focus.
Exactly.
Okay, so what kind of rituals are we talking about?
Whatever works for you. You can meditate, stretch, listen to a podcast, or even just tidy up your desk.
Makes sense. It's setting the stage. But what about creativity? I get so many creative ideas at night. My mind is just flowing. How can I get that during the day when I feel, more scattered?
The source recommends scheduling what they call daytime creativity blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just carving out time for brainstorming, free writing, whatever helps you get those creative juices flowing.
So instead of forcing it, we're making space for it.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. But how do we make sure that time is actually productive? How do we make sure those creativity blocks actually lead to something?
You need a clear intention.
Yeah.
Before you start, ask yourself, what do I want to explore? What problem am I trying to solve? Just having a focus can help guide your thinking and make those creative bursts more fruitful.
I think I'm starting to get the picture here. It's all about taking those things that make nighttime so productive, the quiet, the freedom, the focus, and just intentionally making them a part of our day.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all about recognizing that we all have different rhythms and preferences.
Yeah.
And instead of fighting against them, we can learn to work with them.
To create the conditions that help us thrive no matter what time it is.
Exactly.
It's funny, we've been talking so much about recreating those nighttime vibes, but I think there's something else at play here too.
Okay. What do you mean?
A lot of my nighttime productivity comes from working on stuff that I'm actually passionate about.
Right.
Things I'm genuinely excited about.
Yeah.
But during the day, I'm usually stuck with tasks that are, well, maybe not as thrilling,
I know what you mean. So how do we tap into that intrinsic motivation during the day when we're faced with the stuff we have to do? Well, luckily, our second source also has some insights on that.
Yeah, it's like nighttime me is this productivity machine. I can get so much done, but then the sun comes up and I have to face reality, like all these boring tasks I just don't want to do.
The shoulds versus the want to.
Exactly. But how do we change that? Like, how do we bring a little bit of that nighttime passion into our daytime work?
Our source says it's all about finding meaning, even in those mundane tasks.
Easier said than done, right? So how do we do that?
Think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
How does your work, even the little things, how does it contribute to something bigger? What impact does it have on others?
So even if a task seems small or insignificant, it can actually feel more meaningful if I understand, like, why it matters.
Right. And it's also about setting goals that really resonate with you.
Okay.
Not just things you feel like you should do, but things that get you excited, things that align with your values.
So it's about finding that spark.
Yes.
Connecting to something bigger than just myself.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that you have the power to make your work experience better. You can work with your natural rhythms, create conditions that help you thrive.
This has been so eye-opening. I'm like seeing my productivity in a whole new way now.
It's amazing what you can learn about yourself if you just pay attention.
It is. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive on nighttime productivity, what's the one thing we want our listeners to take away?
Nighttime productivity is not about staying up late. It's about understanding how your brain works and creating the right conditions for focus.
No matter what time it is.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, everyone's different.
Right.
Some people are great under pressure. Others need more space and freedom.
So honor those differences and figure out what works best for you.
Before we go, I have one last thought for our listeners.
Okay, what is it?
Over the next few days, I want you to just, observe yourself. Notice when you have the most energy and focus.
Yeah. Pay attention to when you're at your best.
And ask yourself, what can I learn from that?
That's such a good challenge. It's like, we've given you the map, now it's time to go exploring.
Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to your mind. You might be surprised by what you discover.
And maybe unlock a whole new level of productivity and creativity along the way. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into nighttime productivity. We hope you've learned a few things to help you find your own peak performance zone, no matter when that is for you.
Thanks for listening.
For more short-form podcasts like these, please like and subscribe. The top comment on this video will be the topic of our next podcast. Goodbye.